Welcome everyone. Thanks for being here today. So we'll start off. I always like to start off with our faculty members because they're sort of the ones in the classroom that are opening and brightening and enlightening minds every day. So today we have with us Dr. Ray Kozlowski, who is the program director and a professor for the MIA program. We have Dr. Rubin, who's our program director in the MPA program as well as a professor. And we have Dr. Brian Greenhill, who teaches in the political science department and has taught in the MIA, the MA, sort of been, you've done a little bit of everything, MPA even. So a really great selection of faculty. We'll start with them and then I'll have them introduce themselves and then I'll have our students introduce themselves and our staff as well. So you know a little about me already, but we'll start Dr. Rubin.
Sure, thanks Jaclyn and thanks Jason for joining us. Jaclyn, is there anything in particular you want me to cover during the introduction?
I would say maybe just talk a little bit about the courses that you teach and a little bit about perhaps your research.
Sure. So I teach a variety of courses in the MPA program. This semester, I am teaching our new course, which is called Valuing People in Public and Nonprofit Organizations. You can think about it as HR, management, and government and nonprofits. And it's a new course that's been added to the core of our MPA program. So every student has to take it. And it's been a really fun class this semester. Students are asking great questions. And we've been working through some interesting case studies. So it's been a lot of challenging to teach and fun to teach. And the students have really engaged with the material. So I also, when am I scheduled next to teach in the MPA program? So I also do an undergraduate intro to PA class. I do a doctoral level seminar on the research on the foundations of public administration, research in the field. Occasionally I teach statistics for the MPA students. And I think that's my plan for the next couple of years going forward anyway. So my research, in terms of my research interests, I'm part of the public management faculty, and I focus my research on questions around government personnel management. In particular, I'm interested in employee perceptions of fairness in the workplace. So for example, earlier today, I was working on revising a paper to submit to an academic journal looking at discrimination retaliation complaints filed by federal employees, and how the organization of the complaint process impacts the number of complaints that are filed by federal employees. So about a month ago, I was working on a paper looking at how members of the public, whether they perceive programs as more fair when they know that the government employees implementing those programs are more diverse. So again, a fairness piece with some diversity thrown in, but from a very different perspective, the perspective of the public. And I'll end there, but I'm happy to talk about my research further if you have other questions about it.
Great. Thank you so much, Ellen. So we'll go with Dr. Greenhill next.
Hi there, my name's Brian Greenhill. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Political Science, and I'm also currently serving as chair of political science. But as Jaclyn mentioned, I've been involved for quite a long time with the Master of International Affairs program too. So my own research interests are obviously in international relations, but more specifically on international institutions and climate change and human rights. So I've done work looking at how countries that belong to international institutions end up kind of developing human rights behaviors that match those of their fellow members of these institutions. And I'm also working on a new project just now on how international organizations are trying to influence public opinion in different ways. So the graduate level courses that I teach at Rockefeller are, one of them is the second of a two-part kind of data analysis / statistics sequence that's required in the Master of International Affairs program, where we're trying to kind of give students the tools they need to be able to kind of engage with research, quantitative research that uses the results of regression analysis. So a lot of the course is about trying to kind of demystify these concepts and help our students to be able to kind of engage with that material and say something meaningful about it. And as part of that course, in fact, later this evening, I'm teaching that course, and I'm having groups of students do presentations on research projects that they've been working on that has something to do with international affairs through this semester. The other course that I teach from time to time in the Master of International Affairs program, but that's also open to students in the MPA or the MA in Political Science program, is a course on the politics of climate change, where we look at different efforts at the international level to try to manage the problem posed by climate change. So we're looking at international agreements. We're also looking at responses by corporations. We're looking at the ways in which the nonprofit sector is trying to kind of mobilize people, to more effectively combat climate change and so on. So I will leave it there, but we'll be happy to answer any of your questions on this.
Great. Thank you so much. And Dr. Kozlowski.
Hi, I'm Ray Kozlowski, a professor in the Political Science Department and director of the Masters of International Affairs program. Every fall, I teach global governance, which is one of the 6 core courses in the MIA program. It's a course that examines the history of diplomacy, the development of international organizations, League of Nations, the United Nations, the European Union, and then looks at many of the forces of globalization and other changes that are presenting particular challenges to international organization. I put it to you that way. It's a kind of the foundational course for the concentration in diplomacy and global governance. I'm also the academic advisor for those students of the MIA program who choose that concentration. And I've been teaching this course. I started when I was at Rutgers, Newark, and I think I'm like getting close to 30 years of it now. So I think I must have it down by now, I would hope. Anyway, it's always fun for me. I really love teaching this course. And but even better, I have to say, is the course I'm teaching this semester, this spring, and that's my course on the politics of migration and membership. And that is actually the area that most of my research focuses on. And this is a course that, again, this is a graduate course that I also, that I teach as a shared resource course. So I've got undergraduates, upper level undergraduates taking as a writing intensive course. I've got Masters of International Affairs students in it. I've got MPA students occasionally, and PhD students. I've got 3 sociology PhD students in it this time. So it's a real interesting brew of students coming from different backgrounds, and it often attracts people from different countries too. And so it's really fun to teach, and that diversity of the students really makes it special. So last night, we teach our courses in the evening, our graduate courses. Yesterday evening, we had team projects, and the team projects, we had students who looked at the Albany International School, which is a newcomer school designed for immigrants. There is the West Hill, there's the Refugee Welcome Center, something like that it's called, but it's in the West Hill neighborhood of Albany, where there's a fellow who's been renovating housing. He's got, I think, 30 refugee families now that have been housed there. And students, went and interviewed him and got a tour and everything, and they reported back. And then also we had a group that were looking at New York's green light law, which provides driver's licenses to unauthorized migrants. And we had, as discussants, and some people from the Office for New Americans and also local NGOs. And so it was a great evening, I got to say. I really enjoyed it. This is the problem sometimes, you know, we get to have too much fun, but then we want to keep going, you know, after the time, you know, it's pushing 9 o'clock. And anyway, see, I'm doing it now. So most of my research again has been on various aspects of the politics of international migration. But as Ellen was working on a paper, I got to tell you, I just finished revisions. I'll just read the title to you: Transforming Border Security Through Transgovernmental Cooperation, US and Canadian Efforts to Get Beyond the Border. So anyway, that's what I've been up to just until a little while ago.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think one thing that's clear about all of our faculty is that everything they do is like real-time stuff. Like there's nothing here that is a 500-year-old theory that 100% still applies today. You know, everything is changing. And I think that's one of the really exciting things about doing your work in public affairs and public service. So, but I do want our students to chat with us because they are living the dream, of course, every day. So we have Ben Hunter, who's with us, who's a first-year MPA. We have Rachel Morris, who's here, who you're second year now, right, Rachel?
Yep, graduate.
Yeah, second year. Oh my gosh, that went fast. We also have Madeleine Goodman, who actually graduated already from the MPA or MIA, excuse me, last year, which is exciting. And we have Elizabeth McCormick as well, who's also a second year, I believe. Oh, and Kathleen, you're also a second year, is that right?
I graduated in December.
Oh, you graduated in December. That's right. Awesome. So great. So we have this really wonderful sort of group of students. So I would love for each of you just to say hello and maybe give a sense of, you know, the program that you're in, and maybe if you have your concentration and perhaps then what you're doing now, whether that's an internship or a full-time job. And then, you know, just maybe a minute on, you know, sort of a class that really sort of stood out to you, one that was really something that made a difference, you know, for you as you were going through the program. So I'll start with Rachel.
Hi, my name is Rachel Morris. I am a second year MPA student. Started back in 2020 when the program was all online. I got a semester of in-person classes this past semester, but now I'm taking in just an online class this semester. My concentration was in health policy. And that was really cool because I was able to take 2 classes at the public health campus in Rensselaer. So that was like totally transferable. The courses worked into my schedule. And so that's something that's really cool here, that you can take classes in other things, even though I love the MPA program, took a lot of other MPA classes too. But I was able to focus with like public health students and learn about public health, even though I'm getting an MPA degree. And currently I am a graduate scholar at the New York State Assembly, interning for Assemblywoman Latoya Joyner, who's the chair of the Labor Committee. So that's where I am now, this office that I'm hanging out in.
That's great, Rachel. It's great to hear that. Ben, you're up next.
Yeah, so hello everybody. I am a first year, second semester MPA student. I have a concentration in policy. And right now I am working as a graduate assistant actually for Jaclyn. I'm in the Office of Graduate Recruitment and Admissions, but looking ahead to this summer, I'll be interning with the Department of Transportation as a policy analyst. So I'm very excited for that. And probably one of the classes I think stands out to me the most is the class I'm taking. Right now, it's the Economics of Public Policy. It's taught by Dr. Sorensen. And it really builds on the basics and the fundamentals of economics. And we really take a deep dive look into how public policy is funded, kind of the benefits that policy offers and kind of the shortcomings and how it can improve. Each week we kind of take a different look at a different sector of policy. So for example, this coming week we're looking at education policy. So it's really interesting because every week we go in and look at kind of a different arena, a different area of policy, and really specifically with how it's tied into economics. It's something that I was certainly intimidated by when we started out because I would not say economics would have been my strong suit, but I've really grown to love it. So that's certainly one of my top courses, my favorite courses to date.
Awesome, thanks, Ben. Kathleen, how about you?
Hi everyone, I'm Kathleen. I just graduated in December from the Master of International Affairs program, and my concentration was in diplomacy and global governance. I came into the program of January 2020. So we had a few maybe a month or 2 months of in-person classes before everything shifted to virtual. But I have to say Rockefeller and the MIA program was very accommodating and, very understanding of everyone's situation. So that really made my time in the program a lot less overwhelming, I'd say. During my time at the Rockefeller College, I was able to satisfy over 480 hours of internship hours. So I did an internship with the New York State Division of Human Rights. I was an investigative intern. And then I have been working with the United Nations Joint Sustainable Development Goals Fund for the past year as a communications intern. So I'm still helping out over there. I'm really enjoying my time. And I will say the MIA program specifically has a lot of career support built into the program. So Yalitza leads a course, professional development module that's taught, and it really just makes sure that you understand, how a resume should be written, how a cover letter should be written, how to conduct yourself in an interview, and all these things that you wouldn't even think think of because you're doing your studies and everything. They really make sure you're well supported while you're at the university and even after. I'm an alumni now, and I still feel like I'm included in all the activities and events and job postings. So I've really enjoyed my time, and I welcome any questions anyone has. Thanks.
Thank you, Kathleen. That's awesome. Madeleine, so good to see you.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. I'm glad to be here. So yeah, I graduated last year in the spring, and I'm also an MIA. I was an MIA student, and like Kathleen, I studied diplomacy and global governance. But so one of the classes, I guess, that stood out to me. So I don't have an econ background, but I actually enjoyed taking an econ class with Professor Svensson, because she did lots of like team projects, and so we worked together and learned various aspects of econ. And I was a little intimidated at first, but it was really fun. And the professor, like all the professors I've taken class with, are very understanding and very approachable, and so it was a really good experience. And so currently I am still in Albany. I am an Excelsior Service Fellow, which means I'm working in New York State government, and it's a 2-year position. And so I'm actually working in Parks and Rec, and it's really fun. And yes, I know international affairs, it's kind of hard to translate in a sense to Parks and Rec, but I'm working, one of my projects is to work with Native Americans to repatriate certain artifacts to them. So there's that international aspect with the tribes. But yeah, Rockefeller has been amazing, and I'm really glad that I went there, because going to New York State, any New York State college, and graduating from it with a master's degree, you can go into this fellowship or any government fellowship with New York State. Whereas if you go out of state, you can't join this New York State fellowship. So it's been a very lucky connection that I was able to come to Rockefeller and then go into this fellowship program.
Awesome. Thanks, Madeleine. Because Madeleine's from the Midwest. She didn't mention that, but she's
I'm from Missouri.
So
Yep.
You came to us from a distance. So awesome. It's so great to hear how well you're doing. It's really cool to hear about how an MIA, you're like, you work in Parks and Rec, and yet you are using some of that skill set in a really unique way, which I think is really interesting. So Elizabeth, tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I was in the combined program. I believe I'm in my second year now. I'm supposed to graduate in December, so I'm sort of like in the middle a little bit. My concentration is in nonprofit management, but career-wise, I focus on disability rights issues and disability policy issues. Right now, I am a student assistant with the New York State Developmental Disabilities Planning Council. We do a lot of grant work and basically pilot projects around the state to improve the lives of people with developmental disabilities. Since my focus is on disability rights and anything related to that, I really enjoy this class that I'm taking this semester. It's called Inequality in Public Policy. It's with Professor Dodge. And I would say it's focusing on how inequality is created through the various policy processes, and it's a good perspective to have when you're in sort of social justice-oriented work. So I'm happy that I've been able to been afforded the opportunities I have through Rockefeller College, and I think it's great, which is why I stayed and did the combined program when I finished my undergrad here.
Great, thanks, Elizabeth. So you've all done cool opportunities and taken advantage of our career resources, and we have some awesome staff people here that support our students in all different kinds of ways. One of those people is Yalitza Negron-Rivera, who is our director for internships and career services. So I'll let her talk a little bit about, maybe just a little bit about what she does, and then perhaps some of the ways she supports our students in her office. And then I'll also have Dyana Warnock talk a little bit, because she's our director of graduate student services. And I think you guys complement each other well. Yalitza focuses on the career stuff. Dyana focuses kind of on everything else. So they're a really great team within the college to support you in all of those areas. So I'll let Yalitza take over for just a couple of minutes to tell you a little bit about her area.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I would definitely say Dyana and I are like the brain, like two different halves of your experience during Rockefeller, and then we utilize everybody else to help. So it definitely takes a village. So thank you so much, everyone. So I oversee our career office, and some of you might be familiar with career services if you utilized it for undergraduate studies, but if you're not, we're basically an office that works with our students on their career development. So what that means is we really do meet our students where they are in their career interests, passions, really helping you to understand, what are the different pathways. What I think is really interesting, before I jump too far ahead of myself, is that because we are a dedicated office to Rockefeller, we are niched. So we're not generalists in the ways that we would be working with other students at the university. We actually really truly just focus on public administration, international affairs, careers, political science, and really help to ensure that our students are getting the help they need throughout their journey. Now, some students will come and meet with us and they will have a very clear vision of what they want to do, from the title to the salary to the agencies. And then we have other students who are completely different, who are like, you know what, I'm still discovering, I'm really not sure. And we meet you exactly where you are, which is, I think, a piece that really helps us out. One person who's not here today, but I do want to talk about their work because they complement a lot of what we do. Our director of alumni relations, Kelly Hammond, is also a key sourcer of helping us to connect our students with alumni in the field. So there's a lot of work that's done to not only help you in your own individual journey, but helping you to connect with a network that's very committed to supporting you. And I'm kind of alluding a little bit to what we do, but at real basic, we do career counseling, so we can meet one-on-one with students. We do a lot of different events. Most over the past couple of years have been virtual, but as we move forward, maybe we'll have hybrid or some mix in person and virtual. It just really depends, but you get an opportunity to meet with hiring managers and recruiters within the field. We do a lot of career development training. I know what's unique with the MIA program is there is a class I facilitate for them, but out of that class, there are elements of those topics that are broad and they're open to all students. So everything from salary negotiation to cover letter writing to maybe informational interviewing or things along those lines. But we do a lot of skill-based training as we also do events with employers. And then the last piece I'll probably highlight, because I'm sure I could keep going, is we really try to be really unique with our programming and give our students access not only to our alumni network, but geographically where they're based. So we actually facilitate in the fall and in the spring a week dedicated to a geographic region. And that's been divided between New York City in the fall, DC in the spring, and it features plenty of panelists of different job titles that people will ask us about, or agencies are featured. So we have alumni that are working at those agencies that'll speak to their work. And then we mix it up with alumni who are just networking with our students. So we do a lot for a small shop. It's myself, I have a part-time staff member who works with our undergrads, and then we have 2 graduate assistants. So we definitely try to maximize our resources to better support our students, but that's just a little bit about what we do in career services.
Awesome, thanks, Yalitza. And you do it incredibly well, because all of our students get jobs. We know that. So we brag about our placement rate all the time. You'll be well prepared coming out of this program. Before I hand over to Dyana, I see Jason, you have a question. What can we answer for you?
Yes. Can you see me okay?
Yeah.
All right, okay. I actually have a question in reference to Professor Koslowski.
Sure.
My question was in reference to the UN and the challenges that the UN faces. What are some ideas for the future do you think would be able to help improve the challenges that face the UN? This type of government?
How much time do you have?
Yeah, right. Well, let's talk brass tacks of funding for starters, because so much of what's being done now is being done kind of on a project basis, and the UN is going around hat in hand for particular donors, and this leads to all sorts of problematic dynamics. We saw that a little bit with the World Health Organization that had become increasingly dependent on funding from China, for example. So that's a starting point. But then, of course, there are all the reforms that need to be put in place, which go together with the funding, and they're a little more difficult to put in place. But we have, again, there are a variety of positions on all these issues, and I'll either have a whole week devoted to this, or it becomes part of one of the sessions in global governance. And of course, the other thing that's happened more recently, that's why it's part of it, has been how can we put it, populist reactions against international organizations. So all sorts of countries, including the United States, was withdrawing from UN agencies, the Universal Postal Union of all things, right? Threatening to withdraw from NATO, even raising that issue at one point. So it's also this question here about domestic politics and supporting international organizations, and that's a real challenge. But anyway, like I said, how much time do you have?
I know that's an entire lecture for weeks and weeks, probably. It's but I think it's it's a really poignant topic for sure.
All you gotta do is take the course. We've got plenty of time. We've got plenty of time.
Thank you. Just another example of how things, what's happening in the world today is impacting every class all the time. It feels like it's pretty cool. So I want to make sure I get Dyana in before we open it up to more. I'll have some more general questions, and students, please feel free to ask. So Dyana is our Director of Graduate Student Services, which, like we said, outside of career services, kind of takes care of a lot of those other things. So I'll let her talk a little bit about her office, and perhaps for those of you coming in the fall, maybe what is in store for you here now between now and then. So Dyana.
Yes, you'll likely be hearing a lot from me if you're coming in the fall. So I help to organize the orientation programs, which all of our programs have pretty elaborate onboarding, which is really good. It helps you both with the academic side, and some of our orientation programs, we have prep sessions for different topics. And we also introduce you to many of the faces that you'll see here, but other resources at the college as well as the university. So I help our office and the Student Services Office, we help students from the point that they are starting their academic career, in their grad career, through graduation. And so I help students with program planning. Many students are undecided, and I'm an additional resource outside of their academic advisor that is another party that can help navigate what the requirements of programs are. And I'm an additional resource to help connect students to two other resources at Rockefeller or at the university. Sometimes we just don't know what we have available to us, even if we're reading everything and watching everything. Everyone has different circumstances and encounters different challenges. And I'm one of those set of ears that can help direct you to maybe some type of resource or boost that you might need to help get you through. We want to get students to that graduation finish line. So I'm here for that. And like Yalitza said, we work hand in hand. So I'm usually very aware of what other things students have going on other than just the classroom. I mean, when we were just listening to all of the students and alum here, there's just so much that they are taking on, not just the amazing classes, but also the amazing internship opportunities or volunteer opportunities or fellowships. So I'm aware of these other moving pieces that you may have to balance, and can help you maybe connect the dots or find some balance at times that's needed. And I'm pretty well versed in all of the requirements of a program, right? The program manuals that we know that all of our students read the first day that they get them, I'm sure, from cover to cover. But any of those like small little nuances between programs, I'm just familiar with a lot of those small details, so it can help students that may find themselves in those nuanced situations. I think that basically covers it.
Thanks.
And also help the faculty members who.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good liaison there. Yeah.
Great. Again, please feel free to put questions in the chat or raise your hand. But I have sort of a general question. This is for students, faculty, this is for everyone, literally any of you. And it's sort of based around success. What do you think, perhaps as a faculty member, what do you think are the traits students come who and how they can be successful in the classroom? Students, what was it for you that made you successful in your classes? Dyana, Yalitza, what are the things that students can do to help them be successful in, in finding a career and making sure they take advantage of the resources here? So think maybe a second about what you feel like that success looks like. And then whoever wants to jump in, jump in.
I think for me, it was kind of reaching out. That's something that can really help you in this program. There are a lot of people that are here willing to help. I got into this program when it was all online, and I know that students might still be taking online classes, and you can still go to office hours on Zoom and talk to your professors, or go to career services office hours. And there's so many people that are like, whoa, hey, like, thanks for coming. And I was able to get close with professors that way. And it's something that I think really enhanced my experience. Because in undergrad, I was like, oh, I don't want to talk to people outside of class, but no, you can, and they can really help you. I think just like being able to take that step as a student to be like, oh, I'm going to go to this, even though it's not required for me to go to, it can help your experience, get you opportunities, and really benefit you.
Great point. Absolutely. Who else?
I will say, oh, sorry, then you can go.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just going to say exactly like Rachel was saying, the program, no matter what program you're in, is what you make of it. And you could go through it alone, just go to class, going through the motions, but really talk to your classmates and professors, and networking is going to be the biggest key, and your success rate at the program. Finding what classes you want to take, what concentrations you want to pursue is really going to help make your program what you want to make it. And that's really what it is. No matter what program you're in, it's what you make of it. And to just be engaged and take advantage of all the resources and opportunities is going to really help your time.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, I think to just really echo both those points, my probably strongest piece of advice would be to ask questions. It sounds silly, but ask questions. What I mean by that is go to office hours. Ask that question during class that you think is a silly question that probably isn't, that everyone's wondering, and you will be amazed at how far you can get. I find just in the 2 semesters that I've been here thus far, simply going to office hours and asking questions. And just explaining to a professor, hey, I don't understand this concept. Can you, walk me through it from a different angle? That has led me to, immensely understand things that at the onset I didn't really understand at all. So I would certainly say ask questions, but more importantly, don't be afraid to, because the odds are that everyone in the class has those same questions, and in the long run, it's going to help you and benefit you.
What about you, Dr. Rubin or Dr. Greenhill? Any pieces of advice for those successful students to be a successful student?
I have 2 pieces of advice, and one is a plug for Yalitza, and the other one is about personal care. So, a lot of students come in with maybe some experience interacting with government or nonprofits, but also a lot of assumptions about what are government bureaucrats doing on a day-to-day basis. And you can learn a lot by going to the different information sessions that Yalitza has with people working in government and nonprofits, and learn about how work is done in agencies that you otherwise might not care about. But you can learn a lot about how does the work of government actually get done? What does it really take to be successful? in the public sector or in a nonprofit organization. Organizations are doing lots of different things, and people bring lots of different professional backgrounds to it. And you'll learn a lot about the work of the public sector and what it takes to be successful by going to the information sessions, both that Yalitza pulls together for career services and when we bring alumni together to network with students. The personal care point I will say is give yourself enough time to sleep. It may seem simple, but as a faculty member, I can tell when a student has written an assignment at 3 a.m. And I can see in class when people are falling asleep because they were up too late writing that assignment. And you'll get more out of class, you'll remember more, you'll engage more constructively with your classmates and your professors if you take time to take care of yourself, particularly giving yourself enough time to sleep. I think one thing we've learned from COVID, hopefully, is that we need to take better care of ourselves, but give yourself time to sleep.
Who else wants to address being successful? What does that look like from your perspective for our students?
Yeah, I guess I would just build on what has already been said, especially by our students, about how so much of your success depends on kind of what you put into the experience here, because what you pay tuition for is your classes, but once you've paid that tuition, there's so many other things that are essentially free, so office hours, for example, you pay the same tuition if you come to office hours every week or if you never come to office hours. And so I strongly encourage students, just make the most of the fact that faculty members want to meet with you, they want to talk to you one-on-one outside of the classroom setting. And I think it was, as Ben said earlier, like it can be really good just to ask the professor to kind of walk you through an idea, just give you a different explanation for some complicated idea that maybe during the class kind of went over your head. And then certainly all the kind of professional development stuff that Yalitza in particular is responsible for. I mean, that's a really wonderful resource, being able to have again, I'm kind of, I try to tell my advisees and students, it's like, you've got this like free career consultant, who work for you for no fee. Normally you'd be paying like $100 an hour or something for these kinds of services, and you have someone who can sit down with you and talk to you about your goals and go through your resume with you, and that is just an incredibly useful resource. So there are lots of really great things to take advantage of, and so I think a lot of your success depends on not just doing kind of what you have to do in order to get through the program, but also trying to take every possible opportunity to kind of avail yourself of these like professional development and networking opportunities and going to talks and things like that.
So what are we learning? It's taking advantage of stuff outside the classroom as much as in, people weren't saying, read more, take copious notes. I mean, you have to do all that anyway. But I think one of the things that is, certainly relevant that everyone said, faculty and students alike, is utilizing the resources we have for sure. So I don't know if Yalitza or Diana, if there's anything you guys can think of that are like, what is that thing that's really going to help students be successful?
Sure. So there's two other ways that I would offer that might just help folks to think about it a little bit differently when we're talking about leveraging all of these resources. So one nugget that I share with students often is pay attention to what you're paying attention to. And that may sound kind of silly, but really think about the things that when you're on your day-to-day, your podcast, the books that you're reading, maybe there's a conversation in class that really gets you excited. Like, don't let those little moments just slip you by, because they're starting to plant seeds about where your career interests lie. And sometimes folks don't realize that a lot of that is already breadcrumbing what you're intended to potentially do, and to realize that, folks weave in and out of different areas of public service, and that they really do utilize all of their experiences in different areas and different sectors, make them even more informed as public servants. So just knowing that you can take a lot of these lessons learned to really help craft a meaningful and successful career. And I think when folks hear that, they realize like, oh, if I start to really think critically about like what gets my interest and I'm excited about, can really help to take what seems like a behemoth of a career path and start to narrow it down just a little bit. And the last part that I was going to say was diversifying how you're exploring. There are times where I have students who spend a lot of time looking at the web-based postings and apply, web-based postings and apply. And that's a great strategy, but I promise you it's only one. And you really want to be intentional and leverage like resources like LinkedIn that everybody's mentioned about info sessions with employers or meeting with alumni. Finding ways to add variety is just going to allow you to make connections and help you perhaps learn about pathways or employers that from the outside weren't interesting to you. But then when you learn more about it, you're like, actually, that sounds really interesting. And so I think being able to diversify your search a bit more and starting early. I mean, I have folks who are in their first year of their academic studies who have tried this strategy early on, and they're looking at full-time jobs, but not the intention to apply. They're just trying to understand what are the trends, what are the demands and skills, because then they're eyeing their internship search critically to say, how is this helping me to build to that so I can apply for those opportunities. So there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but I think if you can take away, pay attention to what you're paying attention to and diversify your strategies and how you're exploring your career path, it'll help to avoid burnout and maybe even level, decrease your stress a little bit, but know that we're here to help you navigate it so you don't have to do this all by yourself.
So Rachel stole my thunder because I would have said connect, make sure you're connecting to people. Don't, if you're encountering challenges, don't suffer in silence. I just think that that's huge because I think you'll find that you are a much bigger fish in a smaller pond in grad school, right? So you can stand out just by advocating or by connecting, and by stopping by office hours and saying everything is going great. And I think my one tip, because I'm working with a lot of students that are graduating right now, which is great. Rachel, you're one of them. But I think the one thing that I hear a lot is, at the beginning of their program, they want to fly through. The students are looking to take on as much as they possibly can and get it all done as quickly as they can. I can maybe get this done if I just keep going and don't take a breath. Meanwhile, at the end, when they're reflecting, I don't think anyone is saying, I wish I had gotten this done one semester quicker. I've never heard that, right? So maybe it's, I wish I had taken that time to attend that one more employer info session, and that would have saved me so much time. Or, taking advantage of the workshops, or taking one additional class because it's just something that's really interesting to you, even though it's not the required course. So that would just be my suggestion. I'm sure it sounds like momish to slow down, and smell the roses, but it's true. I don't hear that from anyone that's graduating, right? I wish I had gone faster. I don't hear that.
If I might, in terms of success in class, and I think this plays off of a bit of what Dyana said. And I mean, some of it's pretty straightforward and simple. Complete the readings assigned for class before the class. And then when you attend the class, speak about the readings that you read. And participation, and do that every week, not just every now and then, every week. Say a few things about what you've read in class, right? And something that Ben said, just music to my ears, ask questions. Ask questions about the readings. I didn't get this, right? Because if you didn't, guess what? You're probably helping half the class. And that is like the supreme kind of participation when that happens. All right. We professors will love it. The problem is that sometimes people don't have enough time to do the readings, and they don't read it. And they come to class and they think that they're going to be there. And gosh, I spend 3 hours here, and somehow or another, by listening or trying to listen and follow things, they're going to learn. But it's hard if you haven't. And my class is taught as a seminar, a discussion class. It's not a lecture class. So it's not like you just have this PowerPoint that you can refer to, for example. It's different. And if you're not prepared in advance, it's really hard to follow things. But what does that mean? That means you have to be realistic about your course load. I mean, I find this oftentimes with our undergrads who are coming right into graduate school. Oh yeah, I could take 5 courses and work part-time, 20 hours, 25 hours, sure, no problem. Well, yeah, you could do that. But if you're not doing the readings for your courses, you're not doing the assignments, I mean, what's the point, right? So this is where what Dyana said in terms of, then there's that, oh yeah, if I just take, an additional course, give yourself enough time to do the readings and to sleep, as someone said, because otherwise you're not going to take it in. So I think that's one, especially in the beginning, that people really need to be reasonable with themselves.
Awesome. Thank you. Agreed. So well rested. It's a big thing, people. And I think, you want to be successful. This is your career. You're starting a whole new career, and this is the degree that's going to get you there. So, you got to put in what you want to get out of it. I think a few people said that. So we have, 6 or 7 minutes left. So I just want to ask sort of one last question, and it's sort of a fun question. It's literally, what's your favorite thing? That's the question. What's your favorite thing? And it can be about your program. It can be about a class you teach. It can be literally about the taco place you love down the street. I just want to hear what your favorite thing is. So I'll start. I have a lot of favorite things, but I think my most favorite thing is that the fun of my job, and kind of all of us, so I'm probably stealing some of yours, but I get to help students navigate that next step into them changing the world. And there is nothing more gratifying than that I get to be part of that process, knowing that one day, I see our alumni out there doing amazing things. And it's like, even if I had the tiniest little part in helping them be successful, that to me is my favorite thing. So in addition to the fact that I only live 5 minutes from campus and my commute's very short. So I'll go around my screen. That way we can go in an order. So Yalitza, you're at the top of my screen. So you're first.
Sure. I'd say I have 2, but my one favorite is when I get those emails from folks and are like, maybe it's been very quiet. They've been applying to a lot of things. And I'm like, I know the silence means something's brewing. Something's great is coming. Trust the process. And then I get that email. I got the job offer. I got the interview. And it's like, I get to celebrate with them. And I think that that's just so rewarding. And, whether they get the job or get past a certain couple of rounds, it just kind of builds their confidence over time. And when they do get to land that job, I'm just like beyond thrilled. I mean, that's what makes it so rewarding. A lot of times when family ask me what I do, I was like, I could be doing career services for like the next president. I'm trying to get them to understand like, what exactly do I do? And they're like, oh, that's so fascinating. I'm like, I know. So I think that's just really exciting to know that folks are going into such meaningful careers. So I'd actually say that is my favorite part of it.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks. I know we need an MPA in the White House. Forget all these lawyers. Ben, how about you?
Yeah, I would say my favorite thing is certainly where Rockefeller and this specific degree of an MPA can take me, and that being included with all of the tireless work of student services, of Yalitza, of professors. And what I mean by that is, I came into Rockefeller after a year off from undergrad with an English degree and a journalism minor. I didn't really have that much exposure to the MPA or the content of the MPA program in undergrad. But I kind of knew that a part of me always wanted to work in public service for the government. And I see my fellow classmates going on to do that who are graduating this semester. And I see to myself just, luckily being given the opportunity to intern with the federal government. So just knowing that that's a possibility and that's an opportunity that lies ahead for many students, I think that certainly is something that excites me, and it's probably my favorite thing.
Great, thanks, Ben. Dr. Koslowski.
When my students succeed,
Well
and
said.
especially when in a class, when they had, a particular problem and they overcome that problem.
Awesome, thanks. Diana.
Mine's somewhat similar. It's when I've been working with a student that maybe from day one has challenges or seems very scattered or not quite sure-footed, maybe has a little bit of the imposter syndrome, just not sure that, and then as things start to fall into place, it just seems like it's known to them that this was like the place to be, and I get to see them at graduation too. So, and usually by that point they've solidified their job, and I guess that's my favorite thing. Sounds like a lot of things, I guess, but it's pretty cool.
I love it. Kathleen.
So my favorite thing is the sense of community at Rockefeller. I mentioned before, I was kind of caught up in the gist of everything, getting switched over to virtual and back over to in person. And, that could feel very isolating, but I had so much support from my fellow peers and from faculty and staff. So that's my favorite thing, is the sense of community and support.
Awesome. Dr. Rubin.
So I really enjoy seeing students learn from each other when they are sharing examples, either from their work experience or their internship experience, and having those examples really trigger sort of a aha moment. And I also really appreciate my colleagues in my department and the staff supporting the faculty. Faculty really care a lot about ensuring students have a great experience in the classroom, and the staff helps make sure we don't screw up things too much. We're really lucky to have such a strong group of staff support from Jaclyn and Yalitza and Dyana. A lot of graduate programs don't have that support. It's great support for faculty and for students, and it helps us all be successful.
Thank you. Dr. Greenhill.
I'd say my favorite thing is when teaching a class, and particularly for a graduate level class where it's more kind of discussion focused, as Professor Kozlowski was saying, and it doesn't really feel like a class in the way that most people are kind of used to thinking of it, with a professor just kind of delivering information to the students. Instead, it's like a group of people kind of having a discussion kind of on the same level, trying to kind of grapple with some new idea. And in the course of that discussion, kind of everyone learns things, not just the students are learning things, I'm learning things too. And that's really rewarding, because then it feels like we're all kind of like helping kind of shape new knowledge or generate new knowledge from the material we're engaging with.
Great, thanks. Madeleine.
So my favorite thing at Rockefeller was implementing events, because I was the president of the Students International Affairs Association, which is like an MIA club. And so I just really enjoyed it because I got to kind of like communicate and network with lots of the staff and faculty, as well as the School of Criminal Justice and the MPA program. So it was just really fun trying to get to know lots of different areas of Rockefeller through putting on all these events for the students. So that was my favorite.
Great, thanks. Elizabeth.
My favorite thing has to be the career opportunities. I feel like those have really helped me personally succeed. So I'm thankful for those.
Great, thank you. Short and sweet, I love it. And Rachel.
I would say my favorite thing about this is the fact that I'm getting this degree. I am just waiting to get my diploma so that for the rest of my life, I can put Rachel Morris MPA next to my name at all times. Like it's something that you can carry with you for the rest of your life. And for me, it was a 2-year thing, just 2 years. And then boom, I have a master's. I can be like Master Rachel Morris for the rest of my life. And I enjoyed my time here. So I know it's something that I'm always going to be proud of and something that I get to carry with me as a part of my name, which I think is really cool.
Awesome. I love that. What a great point to end on, is that when you finish this degree, you get to keep those letters after your name forever. And it's a pretty valuable and meaningful experience. So I wish those of you who are with us luck. Those of you who are watching, thank you for sharing this time with us. Reach out to us anytime with any questions that you have. And I want to thank everyone for your time today. Enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your semester. So bye, everybody.